So, this is a video a lot of you guys have been asking for a very long time. In this video we're going to learn how to properly customize your Android phone to make it look better and more functional. And the way we're going to do this is by looking through a series of Android setups. Setups I've created as demonstrations, as showpieces for the different cool things you can do on your Android phone to customize it. So with that being said, let's get right into the video. So the first setup, which is based off Nova Launcher, is trying to show materialism but with a bit of depth. Now typical materialism really does involve everything being completely flat, but we've actually created a hybrid of the two genres. So starting with the wallpaper, this is from the Min icon pack, and it's a little bit darker than usual because that helps to highlight the white icons. And as you can see, it's got some foreground and it's got some background, which again is helping with this sense of depth. Now as you can see right at the bottom, we've got the Mr. Who's the Boss logo. And if you actually download the DrawCon application, that lets you pick individual app draw icons. And you'll find icons for a lot of your favorite YouTubers. If you don't want to download mine, use MKBHDs or use quite a few other Indian YouTubers as well. You'll find their icons there, and that's a pretty cool thing as an app draw replacement. And now, taking inspiration from the logo itself, because that is kind of the centerpiece of the setup, I decided to pick an icon pack which first of all was white to kind of mirror the logo, but also an icon pack that was materialist, that had this sort of clean feel with a little bit of depth. So I picked the Kasat Mata icon pack, and as you can see, it really fits perfectly. It almost looks like the Mr. Who's the Boss icon was picked from there. Now I chose that instead of Ycons, for example, because Ycons is completely flat, it doesn't have that depth at all. Whereas here we've kind of got these interlocking shapes, it kind of looks like paper that's been folded over. And then right at the top, as you can see, we've got the Trident Zupa. Now this is not particularly related to the rest of the theme, but the reason I picked it is because it does have a similar design aesthetic to it, with a little splash of colour at the end. I think that's quite a cheeky way just to add a little bit of interest to your setup. Now another thing I've done just to make it a little bit more immersive is hid the navigation bar. And all you need to do is to tap the little button on the very left of your navigation bar and that'll automatically hide it. So setup number 2 is true materialism. Now this is also using a Min wallpaper, but a slightly darker one this time to really bring the foreground to the fore. We've got the noisy icon packs, and something we've done which is quite interesting, worth noting, is that we've created folders by color coding. So your brain actually works better by thinking about colors as opposed to individual icons. So when I think of YouTube, for example, I instantly think red, and so before even thinking about it, I could have already clicked on the red folder and have found YouTube. So you might be able to tell that there is a bit of a consistency between the top widget, the middle widget, and the icon pack. And that is the fact they are all truly flat. They don't really have much depth to them. So whilst all three of them do have different layers, there aren't really long cast shadows. It doesn't look like one layer is significantly in front of the other layer. And that is the whole idea of materialism. What it does is it really compresses everything together, so it feels like there are layers sliding up and around on each other, but not very far apart. And because of that consistency, it really has quite a coherent design. As a setup, there is a lot to learn from something like this. So for the third setup, I've gone to Evie Launcher. Now Evie is one of the top rated launchers across the entire Play Store, and for good reason. It has a lot going for it. First of all, the search bar on the top is persistent, but it's one of the better search bars. It's far better than the integrated search bar in Nova Launcher. Within that one bar, you can search for applications, you can search for internet searches, as well as lots of other bits of files and folders. Now Evie Launcher is also a little bit lighter and a little bit more efficient than Nova. It drains a little bit less battery, but the one real downside of Evie Launcher, in my opinion, is the fact that the app drawer lacks a little bit of customization. By default it's a list, which you can turn into a grid, but either way it's not the fastest to navigate. But what I recommend you do here, the thing to really learn from this one, is that you can install a third-party app drawer. So here we've used something called Smart Draw. There are plenty of other alternatives, including one called Contextual App Folder. Now because these are dedicated app drawer applications, they're a little bit more customizable than the ones you might find on launchers, with Nova Launcher being the exception because there are just so many options for it. So with the next setup, it's a little bit of a stark contrast. This is all about catching attention. It's about color, it's about vibrancy, and it's really eye-catching. So at the top we've got a Stun Zupa widget, and this pack is all about basically grabbing the eye. It's about really out the box, really colorful, really awe-inspiring widgets, and they don't fit into a minimalistic setup, but into something like this I think they look really nice. Now this is all based off Nova Launcher, which, as you've probably figured by now, is my default launcher. So if the setup I want to make can be made on Nova, I tend to do that just because there is the most customization here. Now as you can see, another thing I've done is change the folder icons. So instead of the folder just showing the 4 separate applications within the folder can actually have a separate identity itself, which in most cases can make your setup look a little bit cleaner. So because it does have specific icons for the folders, I've gone with the Elta icon pack. But not just that, because the Elta icon pack, first of all, is very consistent. It creates a mask for unthemed icons, i.e. icons that haven't been actually efficiently designed, but also each icon has rounded corners. And rounded corners work really well with colourful setups, less so than ones with sharp edges, which really work well in minimalistic setups. And the wallpaper here is from Peppy Wallpapers, and this is honestly one of my all-time favourite wallpapers. It's very bright, very eye-catching, really beautiful, and to be honest, a lot of the wallpapers on the application are pretty similar. So guys, if you did enjoy the video, I would really appreciate it if you let me know. I'm debating whether or not to create more stuff like this because there is definitely a lot to learn when it comes to Android customization, and it's a really big world out there. There's so much to do, so much which people don't really yet quite understand. So with that being said, I'm Mr. Who's the Boss, and I'm signing out.